This video may trigger some boxing fans, and that's okay. Today we're tackling the controversial topic, is Mike Tyson overrated? First, let's acknowledge Tyson's incredible achievements. With a career record of 50 wins, 6 losses, and 44 knockouts, he became the youngest heavyweight champion at just 20 years old. His ferocious power and intimidating presence made him a global phenomenon. Tyson changed not only the world of boxing, but the world of sports and entertainment, as millions around the world would tune into his fights just to see how fast he would knock out his opponent. Because of his big popularity and his huge rise to fame at such a young age, many people started to consider him as the greatest boxer ever, and they still think that today. However, Tyson's resume lacked victories against elite fighters in their prime. His most significant wins came against opponents like Trevor Berbick, Michael Spinks, and an aging Larry Holmes. With Berbick, the only reason why people know him is because 1, he got knocked out by a 20-year-old Tyson, and number 2, he beat up on a 39-year-old Muhammad Ali who was already showing signs of Parkinson's. With Larry Holmes, the guy was 38 years old and coming off back-to-back losses against Michael Spinks. His best days were behind him. With Michael Spinks, the guy was a B-tier heavyweight at best, and he was already out the door since that was his last career fight. When faced with adversity against top-tier opponents like Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield, Tyson struggled, and he lost. Furthermore, Tyson's personal issues and controversial behavior outside the ring often overshadowed his in-ring accomplishments. His prime years were cut short due to legal troubles and prison time, which some believe left his career unfulfilled, which is reasonable to think that. It's essential to consider the era that Tyson fought in. In the mid-80s, the heavyweight division was not as deep in talent compared to the other eras. The greats from the past were either retired or old, and the newer era hasn't showed up yet at heavyweight, such as Holyfield, Lewis, and Bowe. While Tyson's dominance was undeniable, the level of competition that he faced is often scrutinized. So, is Mike Tyson overrated? It depends on how you define greatness. If you focus on his prime years and the fear that he instilled in his opponents, Tyson was an unparalleled force. But when you evaluate his entire career and the quality of his opponents, the argument becomes more nuanced. When you compare his resume to Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Lennox Lewis, and Evander Holyfield, the level of wins that Mike Tyson has compared to those guys is just not the same. I do believe he is overrated when people say that he's the greatest heavyweight of all time and even a top 3 heavyweight of all time. And yes, people do see that, as I see it on social media, not only on other accounts, I see it in person, but I also see it on my account on my YouTube. They get tied up on the idea that since Tyson was so popular and his highlights are some of the most shown sports highlights in history, that automatically means he was one of the greatest. It usually tends to apply to casual fans. I personally don't even think Tyson is a top 5 heavyweight of all time. Give me Ali, Joe Louis, Lennox Lewis, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Larry Holmes, Evander Holyfield, all over Mike Tyson. Now you might be thinking I'm a hater now that I'm making this video. But I'm not a hater. I recognize Mike Tyson on this channel plenty of times. I recognize him in real life. I recognize him when I'm talking to other boxers. I appreciate his greatness. He's still an all-time great. But I just think that this was a topic that needs to be discussed since it makes a lot of fans uncomfortable. When I say he's overrated, I'm not saying that he's not a top 10 heavyweight of all time. I'm not saying that he's a bum. I'm not saying that he sucked. When I say he's overrated, I'm saying that for the people who rate him one of the best boxers ever, one of the best heavyweights of all time, a top 3 heavyweight of all time, that's what I'm saying, you're overrated. I posted a poll on my YouTube channel a couple of months ago asking a question: who had the better career? Who was greater all time? Roy Jones Jr. or Mike Tyson? And of course, people picked Mike Tyson. I really don't get the logic in that. Alrighty, Roy Jones Jr., 4-division world champion, fought from middleweight to heavyweight and won a title at heavyweight. Roy has the most unified light heavyweight title bouts in boxing history. An Olympic silver medalist, should have been a gold medalist. He has more wins than Mike Tyson, and he beat more quality opponents than Mike Tyson did. When I see on Instagram, X, or Facebook, people asking questions, who would win, George Foreman or Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson versus Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali. It's always favorable towards Mike Tyson. When people ask who's the best boxer of all time, people say Mike Tyson. So that's what I mean when I say he's overrated. He's just way too overrated, guys. He's not as good as we're making him seem to be. Believe me, I respect Mike Tyson. He is one of the best boxers of all time. But when it comes to heavyweights, he's not top 5. When it comes to all-time boxers, he's not top 10 when it comes to pound for pound. But I guess you could say that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Maybe you'll change my mind. Maybe I'll change your mind. It's just an ongoing conversation. I was so excited to see him face Jake Paul. The fight's still supposed to happen, but it would be cool to see an old Mike Tyson beat up on Jake Paul. Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson, it doesn't really say much, but if Mike Tyson beats Jake Paul, then it definitely says a lot. And now that I mentioned that, I remember when Roy Jones Jr. fought Mike Tyson during quarantine, exhibition bout. When that fight was announced, I remember people saying, who is Roy Jones Jr.? Why is he fighting Roy Jones Jr.? This isn't even fair. Mike Tyson's going to kill Roy Jones Jr. Do you know who Roy Jones Jr. is? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, just people overrating Mike Tyson that much, shadows everybody else. It's unbelievable. I think if you're really focused on resumes, you're really focused on the careers of other boxers, you realize that Mike Tyson's not like that. And I apologize. If this really made you angry, let me know down in the comments. Either way, I'm still able to hear opinions. I still respect Mike Tyson regardless. But make sure to leave a like, subscribe. I'm out, guys. Peace.